Hi there. Let's talk about kids protection planning. At my firm, when I do estate planning for folks that have kids at home, anybody under 18, we create a kids protection plan. Traditional estate plans just name long-term guardians to take care of your children. That means you're naming somebody that if something happened to you and you were unable to raise your kids, the people that you pick would raise them for you. And that's a really important thing to do, to make those choices, because if you don't choose who would have long-term care of your kids, then a judge will be deciding that, and it may not be who you would choose. But ask yourself, what would happen to your kids if something happened to you? Meaning, like, in the short term, if you went out to dinner and didn't make it home, your children could have to spend an evening or several with the authorities, be taken out of the home by strangers. That's not a good situation, especially in an emergency. So when I create a kids protection plan for folks, we also pick temporary guardians. These are people that can step in an emergency. And I give you cards for your wallet that has their contact information on it, so that in an emergency, ideally somebody can find them, call them, and they can step in so that your kids aren't taken out of the home by the authorities, but can go with somebody that they trust and know. So when creating a kids protection plan, there's a few steps that you have to take. You need to choose a family member or a friend who would raise your kids long term if you were unable to. And you need to legally document that list. Ideally, you have 3 backups. Then you also want to pick at least 3 people that live nearby, ideally in your neighborhood, but maybe not more than 15-20 minutes away, who could step in an emergency and be a comfort for your child and a place for them to be where they feel safe. If whatever the emergency is requires a long-term guardian, then this person would be with your child until the long-term guardian can step in. You need to legally document those short-term guardian choices as well, so that they're legally enforceable. And then you want to give the short-term guardians that legal documentation so that they have it available in an emergency. I encourage the short-term guardians named by my clients to take a picture of the guardian form with their phone so they have it available in an emergency. And then anytime you have a caregiver for your child, you want to leave instructions about being able to call the short-term guardians in an emergency so that that person has the information as well. In this way, we sort of cover all the gaps surrounding your child to make sure that in a bad situation, things are as good as possible. We can't stop bad situations from happening, but we can plan so that they are as non-traumatic as they can possibly be. And that's what we do with the Kids Protection Plan. It's also important to tell your long-term guardians where the documentation naming them is, and ideal to give instructions on how you would like your child raised in your absence. In my kids protection planning, you can also exclude anybody from guardianship. A traditional estate plan doesn't exclude anyone or say you would not want raising your kids. And if there's anybody that you wouldn't want raising your kids, it's important to document that, to make sure that your wishes are known. And finally, it's important to make sure you've left behind enough financial resources for your child if something were to happen to you. And this is part of any estate planning conversation. So it's not very pleasant to consider what would happen to your kids if something happened to you. In fact, it's one of the most scary things that I think any parent can think about. But I'm here to help you through it. And when you plan for it, you really feel a lot better. Please feel free to give me a call if you'd like to chat.